Good morning. It's 10 o'clock and welcome to the Freshwater Aquaculture webinar. I just have a few rules to go through. It's the internal rules that are presented. So as a participant, you are muted and you go with your cameras off. Please write your questions in the question and answer window that you will see at the bottom of the Zoom window, and also please state who it is addressed to. The chair, Laszlo Varadi, will then take it up during the final question and answer session, or I will take it up in between presentations if there's enough time. The meeting is recorded and will be available internally at EATIP and also through the EUMOFA channel, and the presentations will be made available at our website. And with this, I give the word to the host and co-host of this webinar. David?
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Good morning, everybody. If you're turning the slide off. Good morning, everybody. My name is David Bassett. I'm the General Secretary at EATIP, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our latest event in the EATIP Forum series. Freshwater aquaculture has a very special place in my heart. When I began my career in aquaculture many years ago, I was the Chief Executive of a trade association representing trout farming in the United Kingdom. So my vocabulary from the word go has been steeped in raceways, earth ponds, partial recirculation, full recirculation, settlement ponds, and even the mighty word cormorant. So it's delightful to be here this morning to be brought up to date on some innovations in the sector and to have a review of it. Before I hand over to my colleagues Laszlo at EUMOFA, EUMOFA being one of the 16 EATIP mirror platforms in Hungary, and Alexandra, a couple of oversights in what will be happening this morning. We have 6 talks interspersed with a Mentimeter poll, and at the end of that there will be a question and answer session. As Alexandra has commented there, if you could put specific questions for panelists in the Q&A function. If you have general greetings or you feel you have relevant links to share with people, please put those into the chat function. My colleague Alexandra Nates at EATIP, the Senior Advisor at EATIP, will introduce the speakers. Catherine Pons will run the Mentimeter poll, and our great thanks to Laszlo and Emma Shea at EUMOFA for the co-organisation of this event. Again, as Alexandra just mentioned, the event is being recorded and will be made available on the EUMOFA YouTube channel. But the questions, the Q&A session will not be recorded. So if you're nervous or camera shy about speaking, please don't be, because that aspect of the report won't be featured. As is common form with the EATIP forums, at the end of this event, we write up a report, and that report and the presentations will be shared with you. Any questions or comments that we don't have time to address during the event, or that we run out of time to consider, will be caught up in that report. So please don't hang back in asking any questions that you have. And the report is very useful for us at EATIP. We use that in the development of our recommendations and consultation responses, and in our considerations of policy development. And in the context of the new strategic guidelines for European aquaculture, very recently published, the Green Deal and the Farm to Fork strategies, all of which have implications for freshwater aquaculture, this event for us will be very useful in developing our position with regards to research and innovation priorities. But you haven't tuned in to listen to me, so I pass on straight away to Laszlo Varadi at EUMOFA. Enjoy the forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Dear participants, on behalf of the Hungarian Aquaculture Technology and Innovation Platform, UNATIP, as a mirror platform of EATIP, I warmly welcome the participants of the Freshwater Aquaculture Forum. UNOTIP is very pleased to join EATIP to organize this forum, since our platform has actively been involved in aquaculture development in freshwater. I myself, I have been doing work towards the development of freshwater aquaculture for 40 years. And this is really a sort of milestone event in my history of work, when we opened such a large forum in freshwater aquaculture development. We believe that freshwater aquaculture is an unexplored opportunity in food production, various services, including, of course, the environment service and rural development in many, many regions in Europe. We hope that this forum will contribute to the development of freshwater aquaculture, to the use of freshwater resources in a responsible and sustainable way through the communication, the improved communication between stakeholders, between experts from various regions of the EU and even beyond EU borders. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will find this program interesting and useful.
Thank you very much, Laszlo and David, for this nice introduction. So without any further delay, I will pass on the word to our first presenter and the introductory speaker today, who is Safa Souidi from EUMOFA. She is a consultant at the A&D International, and she specialized in economic studies in the fisheries and aquaculture sectors and in public policies evaluations, and contributes to EUMOFA, which stands for the European Market Observatory for Fisheries and Aquaculture Products, which we have a very good relationship and collaboration with at EATIP. She has been involved in the drafting of the report on freshwater aquaculture in the EU, and we will hear more about this in this first introductory talk about freshwater aquaculture in the EU, current situation and potentialities for growth. So please, Safa, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to participate in this webinar. I will share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for participating to this webinar. I'm pleased to participate to this webinar and to share with you the main findings of the study on freshwater aquaculture in the EU, its current situation and potentialities for growth. I am Safa Souidi from A&D International, which is a consulting office and a member of the consortium in charge of maintaining the European Market Observatory for Fisheries and Aquaculture Products. Let me start with a brief presentation of EUMOFA. So EUMOFA is an observatory for fisheries and aquaculture products, which has been established by the European Commission in 2014 in line with the Common Market Organization and in the objective of increasing market transparency by providing free access to a single database which gathers, harmonizes, and make data available through a single website. So this data concern the whole supply chain of fisheries and aquaculture products from first sale to consumption. So this study on freshwater aquaculture came out in the agenda of EUMOFA following an alliance of 11 member states, which asked the EU for strengthening the support to freshwater aquaculture after 2020. This is in the context of decreasing of the freshwater aquaculture in the EU, as we can see here in the graph. The objectives of this study were to assess the current situation of the freshwater aquaculture and to assess also its growth potential in the EU. The study was based on desk research and which was completed by a wide stakeholders consultation of both national authorities and the main professional organizations in the EU. Based on this study, 2.8 million tons were produced in the EU in freshwater environment in 2018, which represented only 3% of the EU supply of fisheries and aquaculture products in terms of volume. The EU production is focused on mainly two species, rainbow trout and common carp, while there is a diversity of production systems ranging from the more extensive production systems to the more intensive sustainable systems. So as the EU production of freshwater products is focused on rainbow trout and common carp, I will focus on these two species in the following slides. So concerning trout, trout is the leading freshwater farmed species in the EU. Its production represented 60% of the production volume and 62% of its value in 2018. As you can see here, the main producers in the EU are France, Italy, and in lesser extent Denmark. The EU was the second producers in the world of rainbow trout in 2018. However, its production has decreased during the last decade by 15%, while the other producers in the world have succeeded to increase their production, such as Turkey, for example. Regarding the trout market, it's characterized by moderate demand in most markets, competition with other farmed species, mainly salmon, and competition with trout imported from Turkey. Concerning carp, which is the second most important species in freshwater aquaculture, the main EU producers are located in Central and Eastern EU member states, mainly Czechia, Poland, and Hungary in 2018. There is an overall decrease of carp production during the last decade in the EU, but which concerns mainly Western EU member states, while some Central and Eastern EU member states have succeeded to increase their production, as we can see here, Czechia, for example, or Hungary, thanks to some attempts of intensification of pond production. The carp production in the EU is linked to extensive farming in natural fish ponds, which, in addition of being a source of food and economic activities, it provides environmental benefits such as biodiversity maintaining, landscape management, water management, etc. And the market carp is characterized by being traditional in relation to the traditional way of consuming carp, which is strictly related to the religious events, Christmas and Easter. It's well established in relation to the historical dimension of this type of aquaculture, and with some signs of dynamism in relation to some processing initiatives that have been identified in some member states. So during this study, we also looked at the innovation in this sector. We tried in this graph to illustrate how these innovative solutions participate to the ultimate objective of increasing consumption of freshwater aquaculture products. And we identified two areas of innovation. The first area is concerning increasing demand, and we identified that some EU producers implemented strategies such as market segmentations through labels. They also developed new products that meet the current needs of the market, such as boneless fish, processed products. They also implemented some communication tools such as promotional campaigns, etc. Concerning increasing production, the innovative solutions that have been developed concern sustainable intensification, such as the use of recirculating aquaculture system, the development of new species which are more resistant in the context of climate change, such as African catfish. And we also identified two factors that could help to increase production, and they concern optimization of inputs, such as the use of renewable energies or the implementation of saving strategies, energy saving strategies, or the use of sustainable feed. We also identified some incentive regulations which has been implemented mainly in Denmark to encourage innovation and investment. This slide summarizes the EU support of aquaculture, including freshwater aquaculture, but not only. As the aquaculture, the challenges faced by the aquaculture sector in the EU are common between EU member states. The EU has developed in 2013 strategic guidelines for the development of aquaculture and updated these strategic guidelines recently. And through these new guidelines, the Commission provides a common vision to European countries and to the European aquaculture sector to develop the sector in a way that contributes to the European Green Deal and farm-to-fork strategy, which aim to ensure that the European markets are supplied by healthier and more sustainable food. So in these strategic guidelines, the EU identified 4 areas and 4 priorities, which are presented here, and asked member states to develop their own national strategic plans in line with these 4 priorities. To support member states to implement their strategies, the EU supports member states through the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund. So in this slide, I summarized the main drivers and the barriers for growth of the freshwater aquaculture sector. I don't have the time to go through all of them. However, for example, I treated already the governance and innovation in the previous slides. But for example, regarding processing and marketing, we could consider that the identified initiatives in terms of processing the carp, for example, could represent an opportunity to move away from the traditional way of consuming carp and to offer to the market products that are more suitable with consumption throughout the year. In terms of consumption, the increasing demand for labeled products could represent an opportunity for market segmentation. In terms of barrier, the low coverage of data collection systems of the freshwater aquaculture is a major barrier which could hinder to understand the accurate importance of the freshwater aquaculture as an economic activity. In terms of processing and marketing, high investment needs and lack of marketing knowledge could hinder innovation in these fields, and the traditional way of consuming carp and low national consumption of freshwater aquaculture are the main barriers. We concluded this study with some conclusions on potentialities for growth. as stakeholders in the EU sector, aquaculture sector, think that the freshwater aquaculture has a role to play to help member states achieve their targets in terms of increasing aquaculture production. As we can see here, most of the EU member states have not already achieved their targets, and here we provided the potentiality for growth by type of aquaculture. We expect, based on our analysis and feedback from stakeholders, we expect that the freshwater pond production will be stable or increasing depending on a combination of market demand, innovation strategies to increase the productivity or to diversify activities, and the recognition of ecosystem services. We also expand that we also pretend that the intensive flow-through system will probably decrease in volume, mainly in relation to the difficulties to have access to new sites. We concluded also that the freshwater recirculating system will increase, notably for high-value species such as pike perch, and potentially for more resistant and warm water species such as African catfish. And finally, we concluded that freshwater production of new species that are not currently produced in some member states and for which there is market demand will increase. So finally, to conclude, we have developed 7 recommendations. First, we recommended that the data collection framework should be extended to ensure accurate monitoring of the freshwater aquaculture production. We also recommended to further support research and innovation, both in terms of technical aspects of production, but also in terms of marketing strategies, to support exchange of best practices and think about an effective tool of stakeholders networking, to support the freshwater aquaculture through EU funding with focus on implementing innovative solutions, to recognize the benefits of Fishbond aquaculture, which should go through an assessment and quantification of the services that are provided to both to environment and to communities, to promote the consumption of freshwater aquaculture products by for example, through for example, communication tools, but also market studies, and finally, to encourage member states to establish a framework, regulatory framework, which could encourage the implementation of innovative solutions. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Safa. That was really interesting. And we see that there is still a lot of things to do. So both in the growth of the production itself, in the innovations, and also in the consumptions part of the value chain. So and I think the report, the study is also available, so from EUMOFA, so that you can also have a look at their website, where you can have a closer look at all the details that have been presented here. Yes, there are at the moment no questions, so we will save them for you afterwards. But if there is anything specifically to Safa, please write it down in the question and answer, and we will address it later then. Thank you. So now our second introductory speaker, very happy to welcome Reinhold Hannah. He is the director of the Institute of Fisheries at the German Thunen Institute, and he is also an associate professor at the Kiel University. He's the first vice president of IFAC, which stands for the European Inland Fisheries and Aquaculture Advisory Commission, and is a German delegate of the FAO Committee of Fisheries and its subcommittee on aquaculture. Reinhold holds a PhD in physiology, fish biology, and evolution from the University of Innsbruck, and has performed also a large number of scientific work on various aspects of fish and fisheries ecology, as well as on aquaculture in an international stage. So for this introductory speech, it will be, Reinhold will be dealing with innovations and challenges in freshwater aquaculture for the sustainable utilization and preservation of valuable freshwater resources. Welcome, Reinhold, and now you can share your presentation.
Yes, thanks a lot for inviting me to give this presentation here, basically on behalf of IFAC. And I also thank Safa for a nice introductory lecture on what they found from an academic point of view with a view on freshwater aquaculture. And you will see that also our perspective is not very different from the one that was given by Safa. In general, I agree to also what Laszlo already said, that the freshwater aquaculture is an underutilized resource. And you see it from the numbers that while marine aquaculture in the European environment is actually growing, freshwater aquaculture and also brackish water aquaculture are stagnating or basically on decline. And there are, of course, a number of challenges and that are the reason for this. And I don't want to give you my personal view, but there was just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, FAO had a regional consultation on guidelines, on the development of guidelines for sustainable aquaculture. And this consultation was split on 4 different regions. And one of these regions was the European region, which was including basically freshwater aquaculture and marine aquaculture. And the most important priorities defined in this FAO gremium was governance and planning, which was seen as the most important challenge. Followed by environmental interactions that play a major role, biosecurity and animal welfare, already mentioned also, capacity building and skill development. So it's also about education, which is seen as a challenge, and also social perception and acceptability of products from aquaculture. And in parallel, there was a North American session, and the results of the North American session did not differ that much. But there was also a regional consultation for Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And this was, of course, only, or basically only on freshwater aquaculture. And the priorities set there were slightly different, with a high need for technical innovation identified as one of the main priorities in this region, including countries like Czech Republic, Hungary, but also Germany was active there. And therefore, while several other issues like environmentally sustainable production, governance, and economic and social sustainability were mentioned there as well, technical innovation was seen as a major priority. So just to lose a few words on technical innovation, I think there will be more presentations on this issue later on. But of course, when it comes especially to new species or to salmonid production systems, recirculation aquaculture, or the increase of recirculation aquaculture is a challenge, and it's also something that has now begun in some countries. Denmark was mentioned as an example for especially for the salmonid production, but also indoor recirculation systems for catfish, sturgeon, and pike perch are of increasing importance, and other issues like aquaponics, the production of the so-called tomato fish, for example, in some urban areas, is increasing as well. Intensification systems are also used more and more in traditional pond aquaculture systems, and they are not as widespread as they could be, but still they are in use in several countries. I know that Hungary has a leading role in the use of these systems in Central Europe, but also other countries are getting into this and sustainably intensify their traditional pond aquaculture systems. Another aspect that is now more and more coming is the whole issue of digitalization and automation to optimize resource efficiency and also to reduce environmental impacts. So this is something that is seen as a big challenge in several countries, because especially freshwater aquaculture is not very well digitalized yet in many areas, and there is room. Is it in terms of surveillance, but also is it in terms of, for example, including marketing platforms? There is a lot of room for innovation in terms of digitalization. New species have been mentioned by Safa, and new species do not only imply species that are new to the environment, but also there is more hope now also to bring species into aquaculture that are on the market already. And one of the examples, for example, is the European eel. There is progress in the artificial reproduction of European eel, and this is just an example of species that are could be of major impact for an increase of European aquaculture if we knew more about their biology and if we would be better in actually propagating them and artificially intensify their culture. And it has been mentioned also by Safa that it's not only about new species, but it's also about new products. So increasing aquaculture sustainably could also mean producing the same species, but produce new products. And carp is a very good example. You see some innovative products there, like the alternative uses, especially for European carp, because the traditional consumers of European carp are decreasing in some parts of Europe, especially in Central Europe. Germany is a good example. The consumer demand for carp is decreasing, although everybody knows that it's the most sustainable production you can think of. These traditional pond systems are kind of nature reserves in many areas, and so it would be really sad to lose production just because the product cannot be sold to the clients. Another issue that has been mentioned also by FAO several times is the issue of spatial planning. And I show you this example of the marine area of Germany, because there is no spatial planning in most countries for inland areas. So this is a challenge for governance to come up also to take freshwater aquaculture more serious, and also give freshwater aquaculture room by including it into spatial planning activities that are actually going on now in the marine environment. Governance has been mentioned, and Safa already mentioned funding, which is of course an important tool, especially applied by the European Union to promote also freshwater aquaculture. Of course, it's not only given to freshwater aquaculture, but the EMFF and the new MFAF funds are important tools to maintain aquaculture, especially when it comes to traditional systems, but also to sustainably intensify aquaculture when it's coming to new systems. And legislation has been mentioned as a very good example for new aquaculture friendly legislation is Denmark. And the overall goal for a good governance is to create a level playing field. Because it has been mentioned that the production, for example, in trout has been decreasing in parts of Europe, while it has been increasing in other parts of the world. And one reason very often mentioned that the production is not on a level playing field. And therefore, good governance practices, new legislation actually supports this. Another issue that is of crucial importance is, of course, the mitigation of climate change. Something everybody in Europe in freshwater aquaculture is dealing nowadays nowadays, probably not this May, but in other years, especially the last 2 years. And by creating like systems like this, building roofs on flow-through systems can really significantly decrease temperature in the summer months of up to 4 to 5 degrees. And by using these roofs also to produce energy, these are very smart solutions to actually fight against climate change issues and to mitigate climate change impacts. Cormorant has been mentioned in the very first words, so the mighty word cormorant. But cormorant is not the only predator which is giving headaches to European farmers. Especially in pond systems like in Czech Republic, also in Germany, in Austria, otters are playing a major role nowadays. And it's also a governance issue. It's how to handle predatory species in an environment where natural production has a tradition. And it's the same. Actually, it's the same issue with the increasing number of wolves and the sheep culture, and the increasing number of otters or cormorants together with traditional pond aquaculture. And it's a governance issue, how to deal with such things, how to find a legislation that allows biodiversity to increase, but also a sustainable production, also economically sustainable production in traditional systems like pond systems. Another issue that is of major importance is the issue of disease control of animal wealth and animal health welfare. And it's a lack of agents actually against fish diseases. This is something fish farmers repeatedly mentioned. And this is something which is a little bit out of focus nowadays, but we need to have new agents against fish diseases that allow the fish farmer also to sustainably produce. And welfare has been mentioned as well, has something to do also with consumer perception, but not only. Fish that live under good welfare conditions often show increased health, environmental enrichment also, and also, for example, the development of indicators, of good indicators for animal welfare. This is still something which is in need. There's a challenge for an increase in knowledge on these issues. And also capacity building. In many instances, there is the offer for education in the field of aquaculture is not as good as it could be on all levels. So also that the farmers have a chance to get better trained, to get new information. So also the coupling between research and science and the producers themselves is not always very efficient, and there is room for improvement in this field as well. So the way forward, as seen by many people, is we need an investigation of conflicting policy frameworks. It is very often the case that that policy actually acts especially on lower levels against freshwater aquaculture, while the environment also given by the European Commission should be positive. So we need to know what happens, why it's so difficult to build new aquaculture facilities, why are there restrictions, and this is something we need to know much better. Another issue is a critical evaluation of the prospects for European aquaculture in an international competition. So I already talked about level playing fields. European aquaculturists should know that their products should be produced or can be produced under the same conditions than elsewhere in the world. And we need an analysis and an evaluation of the current procedures in the context of an expansion of inland aquaculture. And the EU started this by also kind of forcing member states to create national strategy plans. And these strategy plans can be a good template for a sustainable increase in aquaculture. But it's clear that we need efforts at all stakeholder levels to increase the contribution of aquaculture to food security, employment, and as a national income. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reinhold. That was really a lot of food for thought here, and I see that there's a lot of, as you said, a lot of attention to marine aquaculture, but we see that the need to put freshwater more on the agenda is indeed very opportunate. And we have also had a comment from Anders Kiesling that a lot of the freshwater aquaculture the production is probably underestimated because it's not really very well documented, or they don't always report it maybe. So if we would be able to document the size and the importance of freshwater aquaculture, that might also be an important driver forward.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm sure there will be more questions for you towards the end after all the details you've come with, but I think we need to proceed further to more the thematic areas now. So we have had a very good overview both on the economic part of the freshwater aquaculture and the innovations that are needed here, and still the challenges. Now we are moving to some concrete examples of innovation in freshwater aquaculture, and we start with Jesper Helbo, who is has been working in EATIP for a long time, as he is a General Secretary of the Danish Business Association Aquaculture. Aquacircle, sorry, which is one of the Europe EATIP's mirror platforms. So one of our very good collaborators. He holds an industrial PhD from the Danish Academy for the Technical Science and the Danish Technical University, DTU. And he has been initiating and managing several national, Nordic and European research and development programs. He has also made a review of the best available technologies for aquaculture in the Nordic areas. That is also available. So he will be speaking on transfer of innovative freshwater aquaculture in developing countries. So how Europe can be also a driver for global development. And then I would like to ask our co-host Laszlo Varadi to start the presentation from Jesper. So that it can be shared to all. Thank you. So if you can just put it in the presentation.
This site has become seldom in Denmark.
Yes, if you can go to the start and maybe turn up the volume a little bit so that we hear a little bit better. Thank you.
Aquacircle is a Danish business membership association with members offering turnkey facilities, components, feed, service and knowledge for the aquaculture sector. Aquaculture is also the Danish mirror platform of European Aquaculture Technology and Innovation Platform, a so-called MIP, and we are a member of the Danish Aquaculture and Food Council. More than 100 years ago, Danes began farming fish, trout from 1894. The number of fish farms grew steadily until the late 80s, where new and more rigid regulation was introduced. Eventually, the new regulation, supported by public funds, led to innovative new ways to farm fish. The development has been from flow-through farms with low biomass and pure craftsmanship with the purpose of exporting the fish, to more advanced indoor RAS facilities with higher biomass, introducing advanced technology and demanding better management, but also leading to expanded export of technology and knowledge from Denmark. So, although picturesque, this site has become seldom in Denmark. Today we have approximately 40 model farms or Danish trout farms, producing more than half the yearly land-based production, like this raceway system for trout. At the end of each raceway, there is a sludge trap collecting feces and uneaten feed pellets. In the opposite end, there is an airlift for oxygenation, degassing and lifting the water to create flow through the raceway systems. This development has been followed by even more advanced system. Here is a picture of Danish salmon under construction some years ago. This technology ladder shows the development and the degree of recirculation in different systems, starting with the flow-through system where no technology is implementing and using 40 to 50,000 liters of new water for every kilo of fish produced per year, through the semi-RAS like Danish trout farms using 2,000 to 5,000 liters of new water per kilo of fish produced per year, and the moderate RAS using only 400 to 700 liters of new water. And finally, the most advanced RAS facility using as little as 50 to 400 liters per year for the production of 1 kilo of fish. As can be seen, an increasing number of water treatment technologies can be used to increase the recirculation degree. Also, this number of new technologies may allow you to have a bigger biomass in the farm. The most critical parameters for aquaculture is oxygen, to be measured regularly or even better monitored constantly. Likewise important is the removal of CO2 and securing a low pressure of nitrogen, both to be removed with degassing. Approximately 70% of firm fecal matter and uneaten feed pellets can be captured in fecal traps, as the water current moves them along the bottom of the raceway. Special feed to be used in RAS has been developed by most feed producers. For nitrification, biofilters are introduced. They can be fixed bed or moving bed. The picture here shows a moving bed filter. Ponds at the old farms are converted to wetland for final polishing of discharge water before reaching the recipient. The converted farms has the same or even greater production volume as before the transformation, but with greatly reduced environmental footprint. Fast-growing freshwater fish like pangasius and tilapia represent a huge opportunity to grow more protein at a low environmental cost and to feed a global population that is expected to grow to 10 billion by 2050. So we went to Vietnam with the knowledge we gained from Denmark to introduce this to the Vietnamese farming community. We started at the university in Can Tho, where we set up a raceway system, but in Denmark concrete elements for raceways are easily available, but in Vietnam most things are done by human hands. The system is a true copy of the Danish trout farms, using airlift and moving bed biofilters and equipped with fecal traps. The result was very promising. The production reached nearly 18 tons after only 6 months of culture, equally 30 kilos per cubic meter. The biomass of pangasius in intensive ponds equipped with aerator is only 18 kilos, and that is approximately 60% lower compared to the raceway system. Further, the mortality rate was as low as 3% compared to 18% in ponds, and the specific growth rate was 1.7% per day compared to 1.4 in ponds. The feed conversion rate was further reduced from 1.7 to 1.4, and no drugs or chemicals were used. The fillet quality was very high due to better oxygen condition compared to pond farming. Thus, a lower blood content was found in the fillets and the intestines, giving the fillet a preferred white appearance, a prime quality for the Australian market, said the producer. While we were there, we also developed training materials, and we trained the trainers to allow the university to spread knowledge to the local farmer community. At Can Tho University, we also established a fully monitored RAS facility for training and research purposes. Further, at a commercial farm, we introduced 2 types of aeration and automatic feeding systems. Results showed an improved profit of 412 Vietnamese dong per kilo, which was impressive when the average selling price from the farm was 2,200 Vietnamese dong. For improving the water quality in grow-out ponds, a pond master system was introduced. A constant monitoring of the desalt oxygen and a set point can be coupled to scheduled feeding program, thus starting the aerators if necessary to secure a proper digestibility of the offered feed. If oxygen level is too low, then feeding can be prohibited until DO or dissolved oxygen is above the setting point. And data can further be retrieved on a USB stick. We also work with brackish water and a public-owned shrimp hatchery where they produce white leg shrimp in Bến Tre province. We introduced a raceway system for growing the post-larva from PL15 to stocking size. The system worked well and improved the survival and the growing rate. As can be seen here from the picture left, intake water quality was very poor, and moreover, water outlet from upstream farms contributed to the deterioration of the water. Thus, the intake water was sedimented, filtered through a drum filter, ozonated, and finally UV treated. And this was to omit or at least reduce the risk of introducing pathogens and parasites. This rather costly treatment is defended as the make-up water for a RAS system is very low and must be of best quality. Partial catch and removal of PLs to grow out ponds allow the remaining individuals to grow to approximately 25 grams. Total growth period of 100 days with a biomass of harvest of 5 kilos per cubic meter and a volume of the raceway system only 40 cubic meters gave an harvest of 200 kilos. 3 batches a year give a production of 600 kilo. That is very nice for such a small system. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Jesper is with us here today to answer any of the questions you might have for him. So please, use the question and answer section for that. And here we see at least a very good example of how European, innovations and also new technologies can be also lead to good international collaboration. So now we are going to a different part, as was announced by David in the beginning too. We're having a short Mentimeter. So this is a short survey in order to reflect your views in different issues that are important to us and to the presenters, and that we will also use further in the report. So with this, I give the word to Catherine, who will lead this section of the seminar.
Okay, so I invite you to enter the Mentimeter. You have to go into www.menti.com as written in the chat, and the number is 8794-2304, the code to enter the Menti. So I will wait a few seconds until you are in the Menti, and then we will be able to start the first question. So I don't see anybody entering for the moment. We have the first two ones who are answering the first question. So the first question is, how do you assess the growth potential of the freshwater aquaculture in the EU? So I see that it's moderated to high. Yes, so 22. I know we are 98 on the forum for the moment, so I will wait until more people answer the first question and give you some more time.
Yes, and please be aware that, well, we will also, it's important for us to have some of those views that we can also include in the report and in the recommendations that the technology platform is providing to the Commission and to other collaborators. So if you have any problems entering, but yeah, we see that the model, yeah, people are still entering. So.
I think now I will. Oh yes, still entering. Yes. So just let me know when you want me to change and go to the next question. We will have only 2 questions now, and after the the last presentations, we will have more questions. You can stay on the Menti. So I see that many of you are participating. So I will go to the second question.
Okay.
Which of these items will lead to the development of the freshwater aquaculture in the EU? So you can choose, and you can rank. The first option is new innovative aquaculture technologies, recirculating systems, freshwater integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, etc. Availability of natural resource and access regulation, new species, product innovation, processing, marketing, new markets, and access to credit. So you can see that the first option is the one who has the main choice, yes. So I give you some more time to answer. There were, how many were we? 49 for the first question, so I will wait until everybody has answered. Okay, nearly done. So I think people can still answer the question even if I stop sharing my screen. You can still see it on your mobile phone, on your computer. So you see more people are coming, still coming. So I think now it's okay, Alexandra?
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. So yeah, it seems that a lot of different issues are important here, so that's always good. And as Catherine said, we will use the same Mentimeter for at the end of the presentations here. So just stay logged in, and then we can address the next questions after the three following speakers. So to continue with the examples and with the issues that are more thematically, I want to introduce to you Dr. Thomas Bartosz from the Aqua Biotech Group. He has a long experience from the aquaculture sector, having been worked both as a farm technician and also having contributed to policy making. He has managed several research and development projects, mainly to improve recirculation aquaculture systems, products, and also he has been engaged in consultancy services. He coordinates the efficiency EU-funded project, which develops the new digital feeding, circularity, and breeding solutions for the aquaculture industry. And today he will be talking about the RAS systems for the better exploitation of freshwater solutions and resources. So please, Tamás, the floor is yours if you can share your screen. Yes. And then info.
Thank you. And let me share. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. If you could just go to the presentation mode, that would be great.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So let me share our thoughts in Aqua Biotech with you about the future role of the recirculating aquaculture systems in the freshwater aquaculture. I think it's important to mention that we see this issue from a perspective of a company which has developed a successful business around the recirculating aquaculture in the past 20 years. We are based in Malta, but we work worldwide. And we have three main business areas in the company. We design and build commercial and research recirculating aquaculture systems. We also operate our own recirculating systems here in Malta, where we carry out contracted research for the aquaculture companies and to exploit the knowledge and experience of the staff members of the company. We also run a successful aquaculture, fisheries, and environmental consulting and advisory and training service in the company. As I mentioned, we design and build very different recirculating aquaculture systems, where the principles are usually the same, but we think that the used technology and the design of the system always has to be tailored for the species and for the business strategy and environment of the client. Of course, for a recirculating system for the salmon industry in Norway, we will need the latest improvements of the technology, the most high-tech solutions to make this technology work. While in a tilapia hatchery in Africa, the primary goal is to have a robust system where the elements of the system can be replaced locally by locally available material. So the system can be very different, but the design strategy and the design elements can be the same. And we are talking about recirculating aquaculture. People often think that this is a kind of future of the aquaculture production in Europe. But we have to be aware that in certain areas of the freshwater aquaculture, this technology is already a major technology. Jesper already detailed the trout production area, the trout recirculating systems. But the biggest use, probably the recirculating systems at the moment, is in the salmon industry, where in Norway, the majority of the salmon smolt is produced now in high-tech freshwater aquaculture systems. There are many other systems in Europe where high-value or exotic species are produced for the local markets. More and more hatcheries start to use recirculating systems, and of course nowadays the majority of the research, the aquaculture research, is based on experiments carried out in recirculating aquaculture systems, and more research institutes and companies are investing into their own research RAS systems. But where are the future possibilities for the development and improve the role of RAS systems in the freshwater aquaculture? What we believe that one way of the improvements is to increase the vertical integration of the recirculating systems in the freshwater aquaculture technologies, especially in the traditional pond technology. For example, we know that there is a biological potential to reduce the recent traditional carp production period from 3-4 years to 2 years or even to 1 year. But the technological and the economic feasibility of this type of integration needs further research. We believe that even if we find an appropriate low-tech modular recirculating system solution for this type of combined technology, we still need to increase the market of carps and freshwater fishes to make these investments economically feasible. And another way of the possible integration is the so-called horizontal integration of the systems, when or it's also called combined intensive extensive system, or it is the same what we call as freshwater IMT. It's a way of freshwater IMT as well, when the different species can be produced in a recirculating system and in the pond system, and the effluents, the nutrients and water from the intensive unit, from the RAS system, can be used in the ponds, and the two systems together can form a real zero discharge system. And this system also needs some research, but the elements of this technology has been already investigated and also implemented, as it was mentioned before in the previous presentations. And of course, the RAS technology itself needs a lot of research. There are many areas of future development to reduce the investment cost, the operational cost of the system, and also to improve the stability of the productions of the RAS systems. We also started this research together with other partners in the iEfficiency Horizon 2020 project, where one of the elements of the project is to develop our own smart RAS concept. In this concept, we focus on three main areas of the recirculation technology. We are working on innovations in the water treatment technology to reduce the operational cost and improve the water quality of the system. At the same time, in parallel with this, we are also working on a new feeding technology where camera monitoring of the fish behavior will support the control of the feeding robot. So the feeding robot will, we believe that we can use the behavioral data of the fish to see when the fish are really hungry, and use this data, use this information for the control of the feeding robot. And the third element of this technology development is a decision-making support system, which consists of different elements. But the main feature of this system that this is not just using the data, not just store the data from the different sensors of the RAS system, but also analyze these data, evaluate these data, and help to control the whole system. And on this way, we can really implement the precision fish farming in the RAS system, where the data are also used for refine the different elements of the system. So this is what we see as the main directions of the developments in the recirculating technology in the freshwater aquaculture. I try to be short, to be within the time, but if you have any further questions or want to contact us, you can reach us on this contact address. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tamás. Thank you very much. So yes, please stay with us, and then we will see, we'll address some questions in the end. So yes, I think we need to go further in order to reach our set time schedule. So I will give the word now to Mr. Bela Halasikovac from, he's the director at the Research Center for Fisheries and Aquaculture, HAKI. He has a long experience in pond aquaculture management and fisheries management of the Hungarian surface waters, and his research area is communication ecology, is the community ecology of fish. As a director of HAKI, he organizes the research strategy in the institute, and also leads the innovation and extension work of HAKI. He is the vice president also of the Hungarian Aquaculture and Fisheries Interbranch Organization, which is called MAHAL. So with that introduction, I give you the word, and I see the presentation is already on the screen. So please, Bela, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra. My question is everything okay with my presentation? Can you hear and see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. So after this very interesting presentations, I would like to highlight the two major potential areas of the development of freshwater aquaculture in the EU. One is the ecosystem service of the ecosystem services of the pond farming, and the sustainable intensification of traditional pond farming system. Let's see the ecological basis and some technical basis of the pond aquaculture, the traditional pond aquaculture in Hungary, and also all over in the EU. So a very important thing that the fish ponds are not a natural habitats. These are man-made constructions with special structures for filling and draining of utilized waters, and also harvesting the produced fishes. Altogether, there are about 400,000 hectares of this kind of constructed wetlands in the EU, which are maintained by pond farming. You can see these two pictures in my slide. The first one is the first military survey in Hungary from the 18th century, where you can see the flooded area of the Körös River. It's a huge amount of flooded area of this river. And after that, a recent picture about this area. It's a drying area where some fish pond created wetlands are remained from this huge area of wetlands. But I have to emphasize again that it is not a natural wetlands. These are constructed wetlands after drying area. Let's see the ecological basis of the pond production. Due to the production system, a so-called fish pond ecosystem is operated in this area, which has some similarities with natural wetlands, but also there are some differences from natural wetlands. What are these? The similarities: the nutrient cycling, identical than natural semi-static wetlands, and the complexity is very similar in the fish pond ecosystems than natural ones, thanks to the production system, where the different habitat types are existing in one time. The dry pond area or pond bed with full flooded pond area, so on. But there are very important differences from natural wetlands of fish pond ecosystem. The major difference is the dominance of planktonic organisms, which is rely on the dissolved nutrients. We can never see this kind of nutrient system in natural wetlands. It is very important. It is very important not only from natural aspects, but also very important from production system. Also, because this is the basis, this is the nutrient basis of the pond farming. The other is the increased nutrient level due to the manuring. But very important that this increased nutrient level is removed by the produced fish, which results more stable ecological system in the fish ponds or at the fish ponds. So what are the consequences? these facts, the increased nutrient input enhances the population sizes of all elements of the food web. This is the reason that the high level of the bird species, which has very, very important from nature conservation aspects also, but also as a predator species also has influence to production systems. The other consequence is that biological basis of the status is not coming from the nature of the wetlands, but comes from the stocked common, the activity of stocked common carp population. And the very important thing that the pond farming has a glass ceiling. The pond farming system is limited, and it is based on the natural nutrient system. Yes. What are the main advantage of the fish pond production? It has a wide range of ecosystem services. I would like to show you based on one of a publication by my colleagues from hockey. It is based on the widely accepted classification of ecosystem services. There are regulating and maintaining services, for example, carbon dioxide absorption, which has a global climate regulation aspects. It has a microclimate regulation and water quality regulation. Very important feature of the ecosystem service of fish ponds, water storage and water retention. Certainly the provisioning services are the fish production, but beside the fish production, there can be reed production and any other livestock and crop production. And it has very important cultural services like recreation opportunities, which is one of the main feature or the main basis of the multifunctional pond farming. The cultural heritage is very important because the pond farming in the EU has a very long tradition. The environmental education and aesthetics also very important ecosystem service of fish pond. What are these? What are the solution for intensification of pond farming? We have heard some aspects of this issue, and I would like to summarize these in that slide. For example, in-pond systems or cage in-pond system, and as Tomas presented, the recirculation aquaculture system and pond system combination. It has several purposes. One of these purposes is the enhanced production of low trophic species, for example, cyprinid species. The starting in recirculation aquaculture system, and the outgrowing is a different type of pond systems. But we can also combine the low trophic cyprinid species with high valued fish production in raceway or cage in pond system. For example, trout in intensive systems and cyprinid out pond system, or we can utilize this type of production, pursid species in intensive pond system and also cyprinid species. But we have very good experiences with biculture in the intensive raceway system, Persid and sturgeon biculture, and the outpond system, also cyprinids. We can also combine the intensive valuable fish production with primary producers, for example, energy plants or water weeds, the effluents from the intensive systems. Very important thing that in that way we can strengthen the circularity, and we can reduce the investment and operating costs combining the intensive and extensive systems. What are the advantages of this model? This model is fulfill the achievement of EU Green Deal, the circularity and a lot of targets of biodiversity strategy, because in the natural water bodies we can use them economical way. This kind of production system results reduced concentration of sediment and nutrients in natural water bodies, and it results also sustainable water and fisheries management in natural water bodies. While in extensive system, which is rather place of nature with low density production, it is a place for retention of water, sediment and nutrient, but these nutrients came from the natural water bodies or from the intensive system. Here can transform these nutrients to fish, which is healthy and good fish for marketing or restocking purposes. But beside the fish, these nutrients transform also to enhanced food web, which is the basis of the natural values of pond system. In the intensive system, which is the place of the production, where we have high density moss production, mainly for market, and the discharge of wastewater with high concentration nutrients, which is not a waste, but a nutrient for extensive system. And all these combined system can result better work organization. And finally, I would like to show you some good examples from hockey, which is an experimental constructions of these combined intensive extensive systems. But we have also very good examples from practice in fish farms. For example, the first pictures from Croatia, or there are several pictures from Hungary also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bella. Was really interesting, and a large variety in systems, that's for sure, that we can see here. There are some questions here, but I think we will also address them after our last speaker, as we are a little bit running out of time. So I would like to give the floor now to Damien Toner. Very happy. I know you have a very busy schedule, so we were happy that you said reply positively to join us in this webinar here. Damien Toner is a development and innovation executive at BIM, which is the Ireland Seafood Development Agency. He has been working in commercial shellfish and finfish sectors previously, but now he has a role at BIM focusing on new species and innovations, so fitting well in this series here of webinar. He has a significant experience in RAS design and operation in hatcheries and nursery systems, and his work includes also helping companies develop new products and services for the aquaculture industry. Damien is also interested in how multi-trophic aquaculture can be commercialized and incorporated into the circular economy. So we will hear a little bit more about this latter when we will be talking about the innovative freshwater multi-trophic system trialed on Irish peatlands. So we're moving to the west and to Ireland, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandra. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Great. So I'm going to pick up on a lot of the topics that Bella and Thomas have just touched on. So you'll see similarities between what we're trying here in the system in Ireland and what's being carried out elsewhere. So, like, as we've heard already, and we're all aware, water is becoming a scarce commodity and its use is under a lot of scrutiny. And I suppose traditional aquaculture systems are under increasing regulatory pressure around extraction and discharge. So whilst a lot of RAS systems are being developed worldwide, in addition to that, many flow-through systems are also being modified. As you will have seen from Jasper's presentation, like model trout farms in Denmark, systems like that are being modified to include partial recirculation of water. So the system I'm going to talk about today is the Oasis system, which has been developed here in Ireland, which is a freshwater multi-trophic system. Just a bit of the background to this is that the development was carried out by 2 state agencies here in Ireland on cutaway peatlands. So there is about 80,000 hectares of cutaway peatland in Ireland, largely in the Midlands. So this is an area that was traditionally used for peat harvesting for fuel. And obviously, given environmental considerations and climate change, this practice has now kind of ceased. So underlying much of this peatland is glacial till, which is like the remnant from the Ice Age. And this till or soil can be formed into fish ponds. So following a feasibility study and planning, the trial was established in County Offaly in 2018, and construction was completed in 2019. And we set about to investigate the culture, particularly of trout, perch, and duckweed culture in these systems. So there's a number of different partners, both industry and private and public partners involved in this project, and academia. So we were essentially looking first and foremost at the potential to expand freshwater aquaculture in Ireland, but also to develop a sustainable fish farm model with minimal abstraction and discharge, and also to trial the use of renewable energy. And in tandem to that, as I mentioned, we're looking at the culture of duckweed and algae with an eye to the future and the potential abstraction or extraction of nutraceuticals from those particular plants for alternative proteins, nutraceuticals, etc. We also wanted to carry out the project using organic principles. The vast majority of salmon production in Ireland is organic, and because our cost of production in Ireland tends to be higher than other European countries, we wanted to focus on a niche product. So the trial is carried out using organic principles around stocking density, feeding, etc. So this is just to give you an idea of the location of the farm. It's in the Midlands of Ireland. It's about 60 minutes from Dublin. This is the site before the construction began. So this is typical of cutaway peatland. The peat has been abstracted. There's not many nutrients left in the soil. So whilst you get some kind of grasses and birch, it's very hard to grow anything on this land. It's not suitable for agriculture or forestry or things like that. This is the construction of one of the first ponds. So you see this kind of clay here, which can be formed and sealed. So we didn't have to use any liners on this site. It's just natural soil that retains the water. This is an overview of the site just after construction. So you can see here the wider Mount Lucas wind farm, which is about 1,100 hectares, 26 wind turbines. And the water that we utilize on site comes from the drainage channel from this wind farm. So generally speaking, once the farm was filled, we haven't had to abstract water. Most of the water exchange that happens on site is through rainfall. We obviously lose some water in the summer months when we have evaporation, and in the winter we have an excess of water. But we have access to water here if we need it at any stage. So that's the system as it was in the summer of last year. So I'll just give you a kind of brief overview of how this system works. So we've got 4 pill ponds, and I suppose what we're trying to do here is develop a system along the lines of work that was carried out in Hungary on the Sustain Aqua project, and also in the United States on split pond systems, where we're utilizing algae and duckweed to take up the nutrients that the fish are producing. So the fish are contained in these pill ponds here in the D ends, as we call them, and the area in between is left free for water treatment. And we also have water exchange with the duckweed ponds down here, which allows for further water treatment. One of the design principles behind this farm as well is that we were keen to have enough surface area in the site underwater to allow bacteria to also break down the nutrients as well. So we've taken on some of the principles of RAS design as well in thinking how the system would break down nutrients. So either the algae, the bacteria, or the duckweed can take up the nutrients that the fish produce. We also have a reservoir of water if we ever need water for grading or for farm management practices. So these are the inflow channels. The water flows up through these channels into the ponds and then back down through the duckweed area. And this exchange happens about once every 4 hours. And we also have airlifts within the pond system to move the water around to provide current for the fish, because we obviously have trout on site as well, and they require a higher current than perch. So these airlifts provide current for the fish and oxygenation. We also have backup airlifts which turn on by sensor if the oxygen goes below 70% saturation on site. This is the duckweed area last year, so we got full coverage. One of the things we've had to deal with on site is the effect of wind, which is not unusual given that it's a wind farm. So we've had to install these floating containers here, and they help to stop the duckweed from being blown down the channels and gathering at the end, because we want as much surface area for the duckweed as possible. This is a closer view of one of the duckweed channels. So we have 16 of these, just to give you an idea of scale. So duckweed really is a fantastic plant with a lot of potential. It can take ammonia up directly from the fish, so it doesn't have to wait till it's gone through the nitrogen cycle. It can double every 24 hours. It's the world's fastest growing plant. And in addition to that, it can accumulate or develop a large reservoir of proteins. So we've got protein levels up to 40%, for example, in the system with the duckweed. And you know, that's a potential viable alternative income for the farm, because this area, which is about 1.5 hectares, could potentially grow about 400 tons of duckweed per year, which equates to about 12 tons of protein. So there's a lot of interest in this development on the site. And one of the reasons that we like to use duckweed is, and as Bella touched on in his previous talk about nutrient cycling, with the nutrients that we're putting into this system, we're trying to remove them in one form or the other before they're discharged into the environment. So we remove them as fish, but we also remove the duckweed, which removes the nutrients out of the system. We can't do that with the algae as easy, because we'd have to have an algal harvesting system. So what we're trying to do is ensure whatever nutrients we're putting into this system come out in one form or the other. And that's very much trying to be in keeping with circular economy approach and the farm to fork strategy. So, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, quickly we're back here, this turbine here, turbine 19, provides all the power for the farm. So we're using renewable energy on the site. And at the moment, we're using about 2.5 to 3 kilowatts per kilo of fish being produced. So just some of the results. We've harvested some of the duckweed and we've dried it either in ovens or in solar tills. And we have a number of animal nutrition companies that are interested in that. We obviously harvest the perch and the trout from the system as well. In general, the water quality parameters inside are quite stable, with the exception of algae and chlorophyll, which we get peaks of in the spring. That can cause issues for the fish. If we were operating this system in Central or Eastern Europe, we'd definitely be using carp, species like that would probably increase the turbidity of the water and reduce the algal growth. We could have also species that can consume the algae. But in Ireland, we're very restricted about what species we can utilise. So we're going to have to think of a different method to control that algal peak. But generally speaking, ammonia and certainly nitrites and nitrates are very low in the system generally. And just to touch as well on some of the comments around the use of fish ponds in Europe and their environmental, the asset that provides to the environment. And it's no different on this site. We have a huge amount of wildlife. A lot of swans have already been produced on the farm. They like the duckweed, as do ducks. We see a huge increase in biodiversity in this area compared to other areas within the peatlands. And I think there's probably potential for freshwater aquaculture in Europe to make more of a play on this, and particularly the contribution it could make to absorbing nutrients coming from agriculture in the surrounding areas. And I think that's an important aspect that we have to reiterate to the EU when it's developing policies around that these fish pond systems, not only do they produce food in an economical way, but they provide services to the wider community and wider area in terms of their activities. So just in terms of results, we've successfully grown trout and perch in this system. The duckweed and algal treatment has been very successful with low ammonia in the system. We've started work on trials on utilising the duckweed as an alternative protein in animal feed diets. So we've started work on salmon feed diet trials. And effectively, we have no discharge of water for probably 9 out of 12 months of the year, which is important in terms of water usage within the local area. And the biggest challenge still remains for us to algal control within the system, particularly in the spring months when we get a peak in algal chlorophyll levels. And ultimately what we're trying to do here is to develop the world's most sustainable fish farm. And I think we're quite a way towards that, but we still have a lot more work to do. So that's, I just want to acknowledge that this project is funded under EMFF, under the Knowledge Gateway Scheme as part of BIM's work programme. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's really, well, ending up at a hopeful point, I think, when looking at these type of innovations, where you see a lot of areas in Europe that are not very underused, and so that this could be also provide a new way of thinking, also with the many wind farms that are being built everywhere. So cohabitation there is probably also a good way of using more of the land. So thank you very much. There are some questions to you as well, Damien, but we will say that for a little bit later, because we're going to the second part of the Mentimeter. So I hope you still have your link open so that you can jump in right away. And I give the floor to Catherine.
Yes, so for those who haven't joined yet, it's still the same code, same website, menti.com, with the code 87942304. It's in the chat. So the next question is already on the screen. What system offers the most potential for diversification from traditional pond-based systems? So you have...
Catherine, could you share your screen, please? Easier to see than, although we see it on
yes, you see it, sorry. Okay. It was already done. Okay, so how many people have already started to answer the question? So you have the option of RAS or multi-traffic systems, Danish model trout farms, in-pond raceways, or others. So yes, people are ranking you can choose the multi-trophic systems are the most chosen for the moment, as well as RAS. So for the last question, we had 59 persons answering, and we are more than 100 online, so you can still join, you can still participate. So multi-trophic system seems to be the most potential one. Okay, more people coming, 40, 42. I give some more seconds, and I will pass to the second one. Well, actually, it's not the second one. What do you see as the most important role for RAS in freshwater production? So here you have to rank. You don't have to rank them all if you don't want, but you can. So you can choose all the first one, or you just rank the fourth. So first one, full cycle market size fish production close to the big markets, production of high value fish products to niche markets, hatchery and nursery production of juveniles to stock in traditional production units, and large scale production of new exotic species. So you can see the different options moving following the answers received. Yes, it changed a lot. So we have to wait. So I can also say that we will give you the results of the Mentimeter also. It will be given together with the report of the whole webinar. So yes, it takes a bit of more time to rank than to choose the previous questions. So I give you a few more seconds to. As you can continue to answer the question, I will go to the next one. What could make the RAS production more suitable for freshwater aquaculture? Improve monitoring of water and fish, reduced new water use, further enhance the environmental sustainability of fish production, or better mitigation of climate change impacts. So you can see that, yeah, you know how it works now, low importance to high importance. Yes, so it is changing. So reduced new water use seems to be the most chosen option here for this question. Well, they seem that all are important too. It's not that these options are not relevant at all. So, okay. And we have the last question, so you can still go on answering online. Which aspect of the freshwater aquaculture sector is of most significance for you? Is it the food production, leisure, like sport fishing, environmental services, or rural economic diversification? So again, here you can rank. You don't have to rank them all, but you can. So, yes, food production is first for the moment. First aspect of significance. And there is a battle between rural economic diversification and environmental services. So, yes, Alexandra, if you want to just comment on this, I think it's our last question.
Yeah, I think it's a quite. It's good that also the freshwater aquaculture is looking into food security in at last, and not only as an environmental service, as it covers both. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.